The Wall Street rally pauses. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq snapped their longest winning streak since 2023 as investors look to the release of minutes from U.S. Fed's July meeting. Commentary from the Fed chairman at the Jackson Hole Symposium later this week will also be keenly watched. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific slip on bearish cues from Wall Street. The GIFT Nifty is also suggesting a lower start for the Indian market. Crude prices remain under pressure as demand from Asia remains weak and ceasefire talks progress in West Asia. Gold prices extend rally as the dollar weakens and investors bet on impending rate cuts by the US Fed. Telecom data for June indicates a subscriber addition of 19.1 lakh for Reliance Jio. Airtel subscriber additions remain flat at 12.5 lakh, while Vodafone Idea continues to lose market share, losing 8.6 lakh subscribers in June. And a CNBC TV 18 exclusive, former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan says US Fed Chair Jerome Powell should display masterful uncertainty at his Jackson Hole speech later this week and not guide the markets on a rate cut. Also warns that China's slowdown is serious and structural. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. It's a fresh new day. A lot of developments globally that we saw overnight. So let's discuss that in greater details. And first up, let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing. It was a weak handover from Wall Street, a pause in the rally, of course, some profit booking that we are seeing across global markets. And that's something which is reflecting in the Asian markets as well. Hang Seng is down 200 points right now. The Taiwanese index down 75 points. We have mostly all of the indices in the red in the Asian markets. Shanghai down 0.3%. The Nikkei is sitting with cuts of 0.7%. We also have the Straits Times, which is down 0.4%. The GIFT Nifty, that'll come up for you on the screen because that one is indicating that the start for our own markets could be in the red or slightly flattish because the implied open is suggesting a cut of around 16 points. So let's see whether this dip, if it starts like that, gets bought into, or we continue to see some falls. So this is the initial rate that the GIFT Nifty is implying. Let's talk about the US markets. Wall Street ended marginally lower with major US indices dipping, ending the winning streak. S&P 500 and Nasdaq snapped their 8-day gain, down 0.2 and 0.3% respectively. The Dow Jones Average fell close to 62 points. CNBC's Pippa Stevens gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were marginally lower across the major indexes Tuesday as the S&P and Nasdaq snapped 8-day winning streaks. The Dow down 62 points, the S&P down 11 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq falling 60 points. Pharmaceutical giant Eli Lilly announced today its weight loss and diabetes drug cuts the risk of developing diabetes by 94% in patients who are pre-diabetic or are obese or overweight. The company says a long-term study also shows the active ingredient in its drugs, Zepbound and Mounjaro, resulted in an average loss of 23% in body weight compared to about 2% for a placebo. Boeing has grounded a test fleet of 777X jets after finding structural damage to one of the planes. It's a setback for the aircraft that's already about 5 years behind schedule. The damage was found in a custom part described as part of the engine mounting structure. It's not clear whether the grounding will impact deliveries set for next year. The company has more than 500 orders for the new wide-body aircraft. The 777X is designed for longer-haul flights and can carry about 400 passengers. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
And as we've been saying, all eyes this week are on the FOMC Minutes and the Fed Chief Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole. Chief Market Strategist at Jefferies, David Zervo, says U.S. Federal Reserve has skillfully maintained inflation expectations.
There's going to be a dovish tone. There's going to be a dovish tone to both, and more of a victory lap tone. I think it's we've come a long way. The inflation storyline is a good one for the Fed. They have kept inflation expectations over the long run anchored throughout this entire ordeal, the largest inflation shock of most of our careers. And we're well on the way to getting both core CPI and core PCE back to kind of where we were pre-pandemic. And it's been a long time coming. And it's I think there's going to be a lot of positivity here and a lot of openness to how we proceed with the rate cutting.
All right, it's time to get you the final update on our global market wrap this morning. The European markets, they ended Tuesday's trading day lower as market uncertainty over economic outlook lingers. The French CAC closed 16 points lower. The German DAX was down 64 points. The British FTSE was down 1%. And in some macro cues, Sweden's central bank, Riksbank, cut interest rates by 25 basis points to 3.5% from 3.75%. Okay, that's the global market action, but how will these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in, as always, bright and early to tell us exactly that. Good morning, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Let me come across to you, Vivek. What is the market setup looking like today?
Well, good morning. After almost 8 sessions of continuous rally and very strong overnight cues today, slightly subdued cues. US markets have snapped the 8-day losing streak, but it's not been a sharp fall. It's just been around 0.15 to 0.3% fall across all of the US indices. Now, coming to oil prices, they continue to be quite supportive given the fact that Brent prices again yesterday were down almost 0.6%. WTI prices down almost 0.5% yesterday as well. Now, talking about Indian markets continue to see very strong up move yesterday. Nifty at one point, trading about the 24,700 mark. Financials were the sector that actually outperformed in yesterday's trading session, led by large private banks. Advanced decline ratio on the back of that firmly in favor of the bulls and firmly in favor of the advances, which was the sectors that outperformed. The Nifty IT index, a record high, continued to see very strong buying activity. Along with that, life insurance, remember that had seen a sharp knock on Monday, recovered very sharply yesterday. A lot of positive brokerage notes coming in there, aiding the up move. Shipbuilders, however, on the other side, continue to see downward trajectory. Some of the names there seeing very sharp cuts from the recent highs. What is it that we'll be watching out for today? Very large share offerings will be on offer today. So Seng, DLM, PNB Housing, expect large trades over there. Asian markets, GIFT Nifty, all of them indicating a muted start to our own markets today.
All right, so that's the market setup. Let's talk about the stocks and news. Sudarshan is joining us with that entire list. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Morning, Sonal. So we'll start with L&T. Bombay High Court has ruled in favor of the company in service tax case. The court has quashed and set aside GST's show cause notice of more than rupees 2,200 crore. Keep an eye on telcos. Telecom regulator has released telecom data for the month of June. Reliance Jio has added 19 lakh users. Bharti Airtel has added more than 12 lakh users, while Vodafone Idea has lost almost 9 lakh users in the month of June. Dr. Reddy's has signed non-binding agreement with US-based company Kinomix for development of anti-malaria drug, but this MOU remains subject to signing of a definitive agreement. Cyient board has approved sale of 14.5% equity in Cyient DLM via block deal that is expected today. Sources say issue size of the deal is almost 861 crore and floor price is at rupees 748.65 per share. Also for PNB Housing Finance, sources say General Atlantic Singapore is likely to sell its entire 5.1% equity via block deal today, and for this, floor price is rupees 775 per share and offer size is 1,033 crore. Petronet LNG has signed MOU with Sri Lanka's LTL Holdings for supply of LNG for 5 years. Keep an eye on Exide Industries. It has further invested rupees 75 crore in its arm Exide Energy Solutions on rights basis, and with this, total investment now stands at more than rupees 2,600 crore. GE T&D India, promoters are in process of reviewing its shareholding in the company, and promoters will also evaluate possibility of a minority stake sale if required. Genus Power has bagged 3 orders of almost 3,600 crore. Ola Electrics, its scooters, 3 scooters have got PLI certificate, PLI's production linked incentive scheme.
Okay, all right. That's a long list. Thank you so much, Sudarshan, for joining in. Let's talk about the cues from the F&O space. Mangalam is joining us now for that. Good morning.
Good morning. So yesterday was a decent day of trade. You saw gains across the board on the Nifty, the mid-cap index doing extremely well. The Nifty Bank was the one that led gains as well, though towards the end we did see some bit of a sell-off, maybe on account of the Nifty Financial Services expiry and some technical reasons as well. But having said that, the Nifty Bank, the 20-day moving average is close to around 50,754. It closed above that, a little around that 50,800 mark. The day's high was 51,025, which coincides with the 50-day moving average of 51,381. So now that it's crossed and closed above that 20-day moving average, does it go past that 50-day moving average is something that we will have to watch out for. Why is it that we're talking about Nifty Bank so early? Well, because it's Wednesday and the Nifty Bank weekly options expiry plays out today. For the market yesterday, we've been making this point that it's not just the flows that matter from the FIs, but the net flows by the institutions. And yesterday as well, the reason that the markets were higher despite an FIA selling of 1,400 crores is because the DII buying was 2,250 crores, telling you that there was net inflows of close to 800 crores in the cash market. Now, while the FIs must be selling in the cash market, they were forced to unwind some of their short positions in index futures given the ferocity of the up move, and that's what we saw yesterday. They bought 2,000 crore worth contracts in index futures, of which 18,000 contracts were short covering contracts itself. So from August 14th to August 20th, if you look at the FI positioning, from net contracts of minus 30,000, they've gone all the way up to plus 26,000, making a swing of almost 56,000 contracts. And the longs have also increased to 52%. The 24,600 call writers covered their position. And now we are seeing action at the 24,700 call, telling you levels closer to 24,800 may face some resistance on the Nifty, though the support has moved as high to 24,600 as well. Just keep an eye out on Nalco. It's entered F&O ban today. And we have 4 stocks which have exited F&O ban. So watch out for Chambal Fertilizers, India Mart, PNB and NMDC.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Magnam, for that. So those are the F&O cues, and this is our Power Prep segment. With that, we'll step into a break. When we come back, we'll get you excerpts from an exclusive conversation we had with the former RBI Governor, Raghuram Rajan. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. Here's the CNBC TV 18 exclusive. The Central Board of Direct Taxes has laid out a detailed action plan for this fiscal year to tackle tax arrears, which have soared to 43 lakh crore rupees. Timsi Jaipuria is here with the details. Timsi.
In what could ease the litigation burden for the industry and aiming to create a more efficient, transparent and taxpayer-friendly system, the Income Tax Department has unveiled its yearly Central Action Plan for the current fiscal. According to sources, the plan lists out clarity for all its field formations and officers, proposing to align policies with broader objective of economic growth and fiscal stability. As per the plan, the roadmap of the department is to have initiatives to enhance tax administration, optimizing revenue collection, reducing arrear demand gap, and yes, improving the taxpayer services. The plan, sources shared, has enlisted strict timelines for field formations for achieving budget targets, reduction and cash collection out of arrears from pending demands, litigation management and improving service delivery standards, along with a special focus on redressal of grievances. The action plan has specifically focused on having a targeted approach for managing the tax demands, asking fields to have a clear focus on top 5,000 arrear cases, which constitute to about 60% of the total demand which is pending in the books of the Income Tax Department, which is of about 43 lakh crore rupees. And to address this real-time challenge, it has envisaged to form a special team by each jurisdiction to analyze these cases. Experts say this move will help in litigation burden reduction, and yes, something which is important right now for both the industry and the government. To be seen is how soon these measures actually result in reducing litigation and enhancing collection. Let's see how the tax department works on this proposal. Back to you.
Thank you, Timsi, for joining us with all those important details. So moving on now, former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan has said that US Fed Chair Jerome Powell should display masterful uncertainty at his Jackson Hole speech later this week. Speaking to CNBC TV 18, he also said that the US Fed Chair should not guide the markets on a rate cut. Also warned that China's slowdown is serious and structural. Let's listen in.
I suspect that in his Jackson Hole speech, Chairman Powell will, try not to lock himself into a course of action in September. The prediction is there will be a cut, but the question is how big a cut, and a lot of that depends on the, jobs report for the month of August. To paraphrase Dr. Reddy, masterful uncertainty is what I'd leave it at. I wouldn't try and guide the market more than I have to. The Chinese slowdown is serious. It's a structural slowdown because their basic growth supporters, the real estate sector is in deep trouble and still hasn't found a bottom. So there will be price falls are significant. Since 2021, housing starts are down 65%. So this is an economy which depended a lot on construction. That has been taken out of the equation. I would not focus too much on what those growth numbers are. It's important they look healthy, but I would look at the quality of that growth, and that is why the jobs issue becomes really important. We've had a very capital-intensive growth in our manufacturing sector. If you look at the segments of the IIP that are doing particularly well, they're typically the more capital-intensive segments, and the labor-intensive segments are not. We are getting the China plus one flows. Why is it that they're not creating many more textile jobs, many more leather jobs?
Okay, we'll slip into a break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the commodities market as always. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Power Breakfast. Let's talk about the commodities space. A lot of action there. Manisha Gupta is joining us to get us up to speed. Hi, Manisha. Good morning.
Morning, Sonal. Thank you for that. Well, the copper prices continue to hold around 2-week highs, and the latest gainer clearly has been aluminum, trading at a 6-week highs right now. There is increased fund buying coming back in metals. Also, for China, aluminum imports gaining by 11.5% for the month of July has been yet another reason for people to start going long in case of aluminum. The other area that continues to do very well is the gold prices. We've yet another hit an all-time highs overnight at $2,520 an ounce in case of gold. Well, the markets are pricing in rate cuts from US Fed in the month of September, and then more policy restrictions from Sweden, European Central Bank, Bank of England, and that continues to support the gold prices. One thing that hasn't done so well overnight has been the sugar prices globally. They are now trading at a 2-year low. There is weak China demand, decline in crude oil prices, and a strong crop expectation in India. All of that seems to be weighing on in case of sugar.
Okay, all right. So that's what's happening in the commodity space. Thank you so much, Manisha, for joining us today. With that, we'll do one thing. We'll take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast. But do stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next with all the action.